So, I laugh, but it's somewhat serious a conversation I'm trying to have. So, Sargon has recently said in one of his videos he wants to have an open, honest conversation about the Muslim question. Now, I find this hilarious on two levels, because Sargon doesn't want to have an open, honest debate about this. Because if you do, you then have to have a talk that will include what has been going on and happening to the Muslim community since 9/11. Now, the other thing that we have to get to, and this is why it's never going to be an honest conversation, is Sargon doesn't want to hear that side. He doesn't want to hear what has been happening to the Muslim community. How many conversations with a Muslim like has Sargon actually ever had in his entirety of his entire channel? This guy who claims he wants to talk to people, he wants to have conversations with people. How many Muslims has he actually spoken to? I don't think he's ever actually spoken to a single one. And that is because if he was to actually have this open, honest conversation, he wouldn't last 2 minutes. He only wants to talk about the extremist, percentage of Muslims, which is incredibly small when you actually think about it. That's what he wants to have a conversation about. He doesn't want to open it to a larger context. Because if you want to open it to a larger context, then you have to talk about people like Tommy Robinson, who Sargon is now friends with, and you have to talk about the language particularly Robinson uses, especially that Sargon has now started to adopt this language himself, when he says that Islam is not British, or Islam does not accept Muslim values. This is typical and classic of what we call othering. Now, othering is incredibly dangerous. What it does is it says, those people are not like you. They may look like you, they may speak your same language, they may have even been born in your country, but they are not like you. And this then gives justification. It then gives people justification for, racist name-calling. And then that proceeds onto racist assaults. If you want to go look at the statistics, people who often don't get caught or have a history of hurling racial abuse at people end up proceeding onto racist assault. This is what happens. So, and you have to have a conversation about that. You have to have this conversation. And if Sargon wants to have this open, honest conversation, okay, let's do it. I'm right here. I might be a small YouTuber with about 800 viewer count, with 800 subs, but I'm more than willing to do it. If anyone else wants to have this conversation with me, we can set something up. I am more than willing to do this. But you have to admit, and you have to acknowledge that the aggression that has been turned against the Muslim community is real, and it will have and has had deaths and consequences. Only recently you literally had a guy who just come out today who's been arrested for sending letters to MPs soliciting murder to murder Muslims. This isn't something that is kept hush-hush or quiet about. It does happen, unfortunately, on a daily basis. You have Manchester, for an example. Their average incidence for, racist abuse or assaults was around 27. However, you look, you know, peak now, it has now gone up to 57 reports a day. Now, the fact that it was 27 in the first place, I don't think that should be at all. I think you should be aiming for 0 a day. But there you have a prime example of, you know, a 12-year-old boy was beaten up by other 12-year-old boys, basically calling him racist names, and that's where it gets to. This is a spiral of violence, and it's people like Tommy Robinson and possibly people like Sargon who seems to be now heading on this anti-Muslim agenda. How far he's going to end up going down that path, I don't know. But, yeah, Sargon going mainstream is never going to happen if he goes down that path. So, that's essentially what I would like to establish. If anyone sees this or knows Sargon and wants to show him this video, tell him someone is willing to debate him on this question, I'll debate it with him. I am not a Muslim, but I am willing to stand up and say, hey, look, people like Tommy Robinson and people like Sargon are unduly putting blame, propaganda, and just spreading hatred against a community of people who do not deserve it. So, the challenge is on the table if anyone wants to take it. You know, it doesn't have to be Sargon. If you're another YouTuber who thinks Sargon's right and you want to have this conversation, well, I'm sure we can set something up. So, yeah, there you have it. Let's get down to it. Because I think actually having an open and honest conversation about this, it's going to be beneficial. And my hope is that people who support Sargon, who think that way, might realise, or even people who are on the fence, might realise, actually, you shouldn't be supporting people like that. You know, and I'm not saying support me because, hey, I've got an actual job, and I prefer that over being, you know, a YouTube celebrity any day. You know, find someone else to support that will actually speaks to your actual values and, you know, ideas. Go support someone else. You know, if you think that, that's great. If my debate with Sargon, you know, makes him lose patrons, that's great by me. That's fine. Maybe it'll make him think twice about going down this anti-Muslim route he seems to be heading down to. After all, that's capitalism.